You've died 100 times inside, and no one noticed. You laughed in rooms where your soul bled in silence. You've worn the mask, the one made of smirks and nods, while inside, the wolf gnawed at its chains. They think your silence is weakness, but it's a forge. A storm waits behind your eyes, a war with no name. This world does not hear quiet men, so you become the silence that commands without asking. You don't beg for peace, you outgrow the noise. You don't chase worth, you build a throne of scars. You walk like steel, burn like ice, and vanish like vengeance. You are not broken. You are becoming dangerous. Now listen closely, because this isn't sought motivation. This is the ritual of becoming untouchable, and it begins where everything ends, when you act as if nothing matters. Under the weight of 1,000 silent expectations, you didn't scream, you didn't cry, you folded, quietly, like a soldier shot in the dark, falling without a sound. They never saw it, did they? The moment the avalanche started, not some dramatic fall, just a slow, suffocating collapse under deadlines, betrayals, fake smiles, and the heavy silence of a life lived for others. And you played your part. You smiled on command. You performed when empty. You swallowed pain like it was protein, fuel for the next round of pretending, until pretending wasn't enough. Until something inside you cracked, and the world didn't even flinch. That's when the cold came. Not outside, inside. Not fear, not rage. Just frost blood calm. Like standing alone in a cave after the avalanche has buried the exit. There's no more light, no more noise. Just you, and the echo of your own breath. They'll say you're numb, they'll say you're broken, but they don't understand. This stillness isn't defeat, it's a decision. The decision to stop chasing, stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even bruise for you. This stillness is armor. You aren't lost. You're watching, every move, every angle, like a wolf in winter. Eyes sharp, body still, spirit starving, but calculating. Stillness like this, it's not meditation, it's war preparation. A silence that listens deeper than noise ever could. No distractions, no comforts, no lies. Just the raw footage of who you've become. The man behind the mask. The frost in your lungs. The tremor in your hands when you realize how long you've been holding it all in. You don't hate them. You've simply accepted the truth. They can't carry you. They never could. And so you stop expecting. Stop explaining. Stop asking for understanding from people who've never even visited their own depths. This is where instinct is born. Not in the fire, but in the freeze. Not in the noise, but in the nothing. When every piece of you that screamed for validation finally goes silent. Then, and only then, do you meet the real you. Not the version they clapped for. Not the one that played the game well, but the version that survives beneath the collapse. It's terrifying, isn't it? To realize how much of your life was built on performance. To know you've been holding up a world that never once held you back. So now, you let it fall. Let it all fall. And you sit. Not like a monk, but like a warrior who's just buried his past. Sit in silence for 30 minutes. No phone, no purpose. Let the avalanche settle. Let the dust clear. Watch what rises. You might feel the tremors, the ghosts of your old self trying to claw back to the surface. Ignore them. You're not him anymore. There's a man beneath the wreckage, a colder man. Not cruel, just sharpened. Not broken, just done bending. The kind of man who doesn't flinch when the world shakes, because he's already lived through the cave-in. That's the paradox, isn't it? The warmest hearts, once betrayed enough times, don't become hateful. They become strategic, guarded, unshakable. The coldest men once burned the brightest, and now you burn inward. No applause, no audience, just heat turned into focus, pain distilled into precision. Because you've learned something most never will. Stillness isn't surrender. It's scouting. It's planning. It's rebirth with your eyes open. So let them wonder what happened to you. Let them whisper. You disappeared behind your own eyes, and came back holding the pieces they dropped. Sharper now, calmer now, colder now. And if they ever get close again, they'll find the warmth gone. Because sometimes, to become who you were meant to be, you have to bury who you were told to be. Let the avalanche come. Let it bury everything. What's meant to survive will rise. They laughed at your silence, mocked the way you held back, called it weakness, passivity, softness, but they were watching the surface, not the storm beneath it. Because restraint is lethal. A man who knows how to hold back is far more dangerous than one who explodes. Because when you don't flinch, you control the rhythm. And in war, rhythm is everything. They poked at your empathy like it was a flaw, like the ability to feel deeply made you breakable. But depth doesn't mean you drown. It means you know how far the ocean goes. It means you've touched the bottom and returned colder. The wolves know this. They don't growl for fun. They don't chase echoes or bark at ghosts. They wait. They watch. They strike only when it matters. And when they do, they don't miss. The world teaches you to react, to prove yourself, defend yourself, explain yourself. But men like you unlearn all that. You unlearn the need to be understood. You unlearn the reflex to explain your silence. Because truth doesn't need a microphone. Power moves quietly, like a blade unsheathed behind a curtain, like a shadow that shifts the room without sound. Control your face, control your breath, control your breath, control your micro-reactions. Because the man who flinches first loses the throne. The moment they see your pain, they aim for it. Like hunters smell blood, so you bleed behind closed doors. Not in the arena, never in the arena. Because kings don't weep in public. They plan, they endure, they sharpen. And you're not made for comfort. You're forged in control. The kind of control that comes from watching chaos and refusing to let it dictate your next move. You don't lash out. You don't bark back. Because barking is cheap. It's the currency of the insecure. You sit in silence like a loaded weapon, unassuming, still. But the ones who've seen what you carry, they step lightly. They remember. They know the frozen stare isn't blank. It's calculating. They know your silence doesn't mean absence. It means timing. And when you finally move, you move with certainty. No hesitation. No warning. Because when pain became too familiar, you stopped fearing it. And when fear left, dominance entered. Not the loud kind. Not the desperate kind. But the kind you feel in a room when a man walks in and says nothing. Yet somehow, everything shifts. You learn to weaponize it. To hold the burn. To use pain not as a reason, but as a weapon. And now you are a storm behind a locked door. A wolf in a room full of barking dogs. A man whose stillness isn't peace. It's pressure waiting to be released. So don't flinch. Not when they insult you. Not when they leave. Not when life cracks you in half. Because the flinch feeds the enemy. The flinch shows your nerves. And men like you hold the line. You bleed, but you don't bend. Because softness isn't in your nature. Silence is. And silence, when mastered, becomes strategy. Let them bark. Let them guess. Let them fill the room with noise. You'll be in the corner. Quiet. Composed. Dangerous. And when it's time, you won't need to raise your voice. You'll raise the standard. Because wolves don't flinch. They finish. The world is drowning in noise. Everyone shouting. Everyone proving. Everyone desperate to be heard. Even if they say nothing worth listening to. But not you. You've walked away from that fire. You've stopped dancing for validation. You no longer spill your truth to empty ears, or throw your soul into rooms that echo back nothing. Because you've learned, power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg. It doesn't justify. It just is. And the most dangerous man in the room, he's not the loudest. He's the one who doesn't need to speak. His silence makes the air heavier. His presence rearranges the hierarchy, without a single word, like a throne built from shadow and black marble, unseen, but unmistakable. This isn't the silence of fear. It's the silence of dominance. The silence of a man who knows who he is, knows what he's capable of, knows that those who scream the most usually break first. The throne you're building, it isn't built from noise. It's carved in restraint, in the discipline to not react, in the strength to not explain yourself, to people who've never earned the right to hear your truth. Let them speak. Let them reveal themselves. A king does not rush to be understood. You watch, you listen, you collect data, and when you do speak, Every word lands like a blade. Because that's what real men do. They trade attention for intention. They don't speak to be seen. They speak to be remembered. And you're not here to fit in. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to own the room without needing to touch the walls. They won't understand it at first. Your quiet will unsettle them. They'll poke at you, try to draw you out. They'll accuse you of arrogance, distance, coldness. Let them. The lion does not flinch when the sheep panic. The storm does not explain its thunder. And the king does not defend his crown to those who were never invited into the throne room. So test it. For 48 hours, cut your words in half. No over-explaining. No nervous filling of silence. Let your presence do the talking. Watch who leans in closer. Watch who stumbles, trying to fill the space you command by simply being. They'll either feel your energy and step up, or they'll feel exposed and fall away. Either way, you win. Because you are no longer interested in proving your worth. You embody it. You are no longer interested in being liked. You respect yourself. You are no longer moved by the current. You are the current. A man like you doesn't chase power. He becomes the place where power rests, unmoved, unbothered, unshaken. You've chosen the throne, not the gold-plated one they post online, not the fragile ego trip disguised as alpha. No, you've chosen the one built from silence, from shadow, from depth, from knowing you can destroy, but choosing discipline instead. The kind of throne that can't be taken, because it doesn't exist in the world, it exists within you. Let them fill the air. Let them dance for attention. Let them pretend. You'll sit, still, calm, coiled. And when the moment finally comes, when it's time to move, you won't raise your voice. You'll raise the standard. Because the crown you wear isn't for show. It was earned in silence, and sealed in restraint. No one is coming. Not to save you. Not to carry you. Not to pull you out of the wreckage you buried yourself beneath. And deep down, you already know that. You've waited long enough, waited for someone to see you, to validate you, to reach into your silence and say, I get it. But the truth, no one gets it, because no one can. They weren't there when it all cracked. They didn't feel your soul splinter under the weight of pretending. They never tasted the ash you swallowed when the life you built turned to smoke. So stop waiting, stop begging for understanding from people still hiding from their own truth. You don't need saving. You need fire, because rebirth, it's not loud, it doesn't come with applause, it comes like wildfire. First it destroys, it burns the masks, the performance, the lies you wrapped around your identity just to survive. It burns the soft boy who bent to be loved. It burns the dream built from borrowed desires. It burns everything that isn't truly you. And yes, it hurts. God, it hurts. The kind of hurt that doesn't scream, it whispers. It sits in your lungs like smoke. It lingers in your chest when you try to speak and realize you don't even believe your own words anymore. That's the point. You have to burn. Because you can't build something unbreakable until you've destroyed everything fragile. Most men never make it through. They run from the fire. They numb it, drink it down, scroll past it, distract themselves with noise and nonsense. But not you. You've chosen to stand in it. To watch it devour every illusion you clung to. And when it's done, when the flames have taken what was never real, you'll feel something strange. Stillness. Not peace. Not yet. But space. A hollow. And inside that hollow, something begins to breathe. Not the old you. Not the version shaped by fear or approval or childhood wounds. But something colder, sharper, quieter. Like a phoenix made of bone. No feathers. No flames, just steel, just essence. No need to impress, no urge to be seen. Because what you've become is not decoration, it's weaponry. The man who burned alone doesn't fear darkness, he became it. And from that he drew power. Not the kind they post online. Fake alpha, hollow flex, rented masculinity. But real power. The kind forged in isolation, in shadow, in choosing to let go of who you were, to become who you are. So here's the task. Write a eulogy. Not for someone else. For you. The version you've been. The one who hesitated. The one who compromised. The one who shrank to fit into places that didn't deserve him. Write it. Read it. Feel it, then delete him. Mourn him if you must, but do not resurrect him. He served his purpose, and now he burns. What remains is you, raw, unapologetic, solid. And when you rise from that ash, you won't speak much. You won't need to, because men who've walked through fire don't explain their heat. They didn't understand you. Of course they didn't. They saw the silence and called it distance. They saw the withdrawal and called it weakness. They saw the detachment and assumed you were fading. But you weren't fading. You were forging. Exile isn't a punishment. It's a proving ground. A crucible where the false burns away and only the necessary survives. You weren't cast out. You walked away. From noise. From half-built friendships. From handshakes that never reached the spine. From shallow cheers and deeper betrayals. They never saw the war behind your eyes. And they wouldn't have survived it if they had. You see, power doesn't grow in applause. It grows in absence. In the frost of solitude. In the echo of your own breath against cold mountain stone. Where no one calls your name. Where no one rescues you from your own shadow. That's where the blade is sharpened. Not with praise, but with pressure. Not with comfort, but with clarity. Every hour in exile, a strike against the whetstone. Every disappointment, another layer stripped off the old you. Because exile doesn't break you. It removes what can't come with you. No more pretending. No more shrinking to fit into their rooms, when you were meant to build your own. This is the cave, frost-covered, unforgiving, but sacred, because in the absence of the world's voice, you finally hear your own. And what you hear might scare you at first, because there are pieces of you you've never met, ruthless pieces, focused pieces, wild, unapologetic, surgical pieces. The man behind the mask doesn't need permission. He needs purpose. And purpose doesn't scream. It whispers from the dark. Only those willing to sit in that dark ever hear it. So sit, in the silence, in the tension. Let your muscles twitch with boredom. Let the loneliness scream at you. Don't flinch. This is the part they skip. The quiet season. The exile. But this is where kings are made. Not in crowds. Not in noise. Not in the spotlight. You become dangerous here. Focused. Unrelenting. Free from the weight of performance. You learn to hunt without praise. To sharpen your intellect without feedback. To move without asking if it's okay to move. Exile teaches you self-reliance so deeply that when you return, no one holds the leash. Because no one gave you power. You took it from the silence. So study, train, build, bleed in private. Master your craft in the dark. And when they forget you, smile. Because you won't return for revenge. You'll return with fire in your silence. And when you walk into the room again, they'll feel something different, something tighter, colder, sharper. Not bitterness, just presence. Not noise, just pressure. Because you don't need to prove who you are. You forged it, alone, in exile. And now you don't need their seat at the table. You are the table. They told you calm meant kindness. That stillness was softness. That the man who doesn't raise his voice must lack fire in his blood. They were wrong, because real calm, the kind that unsettles a room, that isn't peace, that's war strategy. The calm man is not unfeeling. He is unmoved. He doesn't lack emotion. He has simply put emotion on a leash. This isn't the calm of meditation retreats and empty affirmations. It's not about being nice. It's not about floating above the chaos. This is the calm of a black glass lake just before the storm hits. Still, silent, lethal. Because when nothing rattles you, everything bends to you. Think about it. In the game of chess, the one who moves fastest often loses. The one who reacts emotionally to every attack, he exposes the king. But the one who watches, calculates, lets the board unfold without blinking. That man owns the board before the other even knows he's been played. This is the Nietzschean calm. Not holy, not humble, strategic. A cold fire that doesn't flicker. It just waits. You want to lead. You want to build. You want to dominate in a world drowning in noise and reaction. Then calm is your edge. Not just in public, but in private. Breathe slow in arguments. Relax your shoulders when insulted. Smile when tested. Watch how the room shifts. Because the man who cannot be provoked
terrifies those who live off control. Emotional detachment isn't apathy, it's efficiency. It's how a surgeon can cut into flesh without trembling, not because he doesn't care, but because trembling kills the patient. Because trembling kills the patient. You are the surgeon now, and the world is your operating table. Family tension, smile. Business betrayal, note it. Recalculate. No rage, just data. You don't explode, you adjust. Because power isn't shown through noise, it's shown through restraint. You don't intimidate by raising your voice. You do it by not needing to. You don't win by reacting. You win by remaining unchanged. And this doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're composed. There's a difference. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be respected. And respect real, gut level, spine straight respect isn't earned through emotion. It's earned through control. Train your calm like a blade. Hold it steady, under heat, under pressure, under betrayal. Breathe deeper than the chaos around you. Because the man who keeps his breath when everyone else is gasping, he becomes the one they follow. This world isn't built for emotional purity. It's built for psychological strength. And the man who commands himself, commands everything around him. Let others flinch. Let them scream. Let them burn energy in battles that don't matter. You stay still. You stay sharp. You stay cold, until it's time to strike. And when you do, it's precise, unapologetic, unmatched. Because in a world addicted to reaction, your calm becomes the ultimate rebellion. Not the calm of a coward, but the calm of a killer who's already measured the outcome. Who knows he won't miss. Who doesn't need to prove anything. Because he is the proof. You don't need peace to be calm. You just need purpose. And when you have that, you become untouchable. Because still water isn't always gentle. Sometimes it drowns. You want strength, then bleed for it, quietly. There are no shortcuts, no hacks, no God watching over your laziness, ready to bless you with greatness. Power is not something you stumble into. It's something you build, slowly, silently, with hands blistered by repetition. And repetition is ritual. Not the hollow kind performed for cameras, not the performance masked as progress, but the private kind, done in the dark, done when no one is watching, when there's no applause, just the war drums inside your chest, beating against the silence. Every man must build his own temple, not with stone but with structure, a schedule, a silence, a suffering he chooses every day, cold showers that slap your comfort awake. Mornings that begin before the world even breathes. Writing when the thoughts are still fog. Training when the muscles scream. Fasting until the hunger becomes focus. Discipline isn't a task, it's a dagger. And every day you choose it, you stab the weaker version of yourself again. You bury him slowly. With every rep, every step, every no when your body craves yes. And it hurts. That's the point. Because softness is always waiting. Comfort is always calling, but so is mediocrity. And men like you weren't born for ease, you were born for edge. So carve it, one ritual at a time. No need to explain, no need to post about it. Do it without a headline, do it without asking for respect. Because power isn't proven online, it's proven when it's just you, and the voice that tries to negotiate your standards down. Ritual is the resistance to that voice. It's the monk's chamber built from concrete habits. It's the dripping candle wax marking time as you sharpen yourself, day after brutal day. Most will quit. They'll skip the uncomfortable, choose pleasure over purpose. They'll convince themselves that consistency is tyranny, that discipline is too rigid, that rituals are for men who lack spontaneity. But the truth, ritual is the rebellion. Because when the world is chaos, a man with ritual is a fortress. He doesn't bend, he doesn't flinch, he doesn't scramble to find himself. He returns to himself, because he's built a place inside that never moves. Do it for 30 days. Choose 3 disciplines that hurt, on purpose, not for show, but because the pain reminds you who's in control. No posts, no praise, just power. Because your future doesn't care how you feel today. It cares what you build from it. And every drop of sweat, every silent victory, every choice to suffer for something greater, becomes a blade that will cut through the lies, the excuses, the fear. You don't need to yell, you don't need to explain. Just move like a man who has rituals buried into his bones, habits that feel holy, patterns that feel like prayer, a life that feels like war strategy. Because at the end of it all you'll realize something savage, something sacred. Discipline is devotion. And every discipline is a dagger toward your older self. No trumpet sounds, no spotlight, no parade of hands clapping you into manhood. The final phase isn't glory, it's solitude. Not the kind that begs to be broken, the kind that builds you, quietly, brutally, without asking for your opinion. Because once you've been to war with yourself, once you've lost the weaker versions of you in fire, frost, and silence, you stop looking for approval. You stop chasing eyes. You stop needing to be seen. You've seen yourself, and what you saw wasn't pretty, but it was real. The lie is that power feels good. It doesn't. It feels cold, heavy, like carrying steel beneath your ribs, like walking into every room knowing you won't be clapped for, but you'll still be felt. You don't speak to impress. You speak to command, and sometimes you don't speak at all. Because the man who has forged his crown in shadows doesn't need to remind anyone he wears it. He moves, and they remember. There's a shift, subtle, unmistakable. You walk into a room, and suddenly people become aware of themselves, not because you're loud, but because your silence forces them to hear their own noise. This is the final forge, not in fire but in stillness, where you sit with your mind like a blacksmith sits with iron, where every hour spent alone hardens your edges, where the man you used to be is no longer welcome to return. You look in the mirror now, and see steel, not polished, not perfect, unbreakable, and the mirror, it doesn't always reflect back, because parts of you have outgrown reflection. You've become myth, not fiction, legend, not because of what they say, but because of what they feel when you say nothing at all. That's the law now. Your presence is law, not because of titles, not because of likes, because of consistency, conviction, and cold, emotionless clarity. There is no need to be understood anymore. You've built your own language in the dark, a code only the disciplined can read, and those who can't, they guess, they fear, they project. Let them, because what they don't see, they can't touch, and what they can't touch, they fear. You've stopped performing for the world. Now the world performs for you, shifting, stuttering, second-guessing itself when you enter the room, not out of fame, but presence, not out of ego, but essence, the kind you carved when no one was watching, when no one believed, when no one clapped. They don't have to believe, they just have to feel it, because there's something unspoken about a man who has built himself in shadows, a gravity, an edge, a silence that cuts deeper than words ever could. And now, you wear the crown, not gold, not jewels, iron, forged alone, fitted by fire, and invisible to anyone who hasn't earned the right to look you in the eyes. So don't wait for your moment. Don't ask for your seat. Don't beg for their applause. Build your myth quietly. Master your rituals violently. Forge your legend ruthlessly. And when you finally rise, make sure the crown is heavy enough to remind you what it cost. Comment, forged if silence made you dangerous.
This isn't about followers. It's about the men who disappear and return as something else.